The sounds of children. A lesson in parenting that I gained listening to my teacher and friend, Rabbi Eddie Feinstein, this week. I much recommend his sermon for First Day Rosh Hashanah. He talks about the foundational faith of being a parent of children. It's the faith that says to a child who's having uneasiness at night, falling asleep, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. As the child's falling asleep, if they're young, I remember this from our daughter Anna, she would say, I'm scared, Dad, there's something under my bed. And so as a parent, you learn, you look under the bed and you say, there's nothing here, you're fine. Maybe it's in the closet. Maybe there's something in the closet and you look in the closet and you go, you're safe. There's nothing to be afraid of. Allow yourself to relax and trust that you're going to wake up in the morning safe. That kind of foundational rule of parenting children is, in fact, not always factually true. It's a dangerous world. In some ways, the child falling asleep who's aware that there's dangers in the world is more realistic than the parent who says there's nothing to be afraid of. Because the reality is that there are things to be afraid of in this world. Moses is getting ready to send the people away, or I should say, they're getting ready to separate. They moving forward to the promised land. And in our parsha, he prepares them. Chizku v'amtzu. Be strong and be courageous. V'al tiru. Don't be afraid. He reassures them that God will be with them. And then he also says, but I'm afraid that when you enter into the land, you will go astray after idols. What are idols? Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel says it's the failure to make a distinction between means and ends. When the means become the ultimate, that's idolatry. You will go into the land and you will become corrupt. But what Moses gives to them is chizku v'imtzu v'al tiru. Be strong, be courageous, don't be afraid. Those are the words of a parent. Go forward. Yes, you will have even failures. But know that love will be with you. God will be with you. You know, they've done experiments and they've asked people before deciding, these experiments are usually done with college students. Before being asked to give blood, allow yourself to pause and think of somebody you love. And then the others were just asked to give blood. The people who paused and think of somebody that they love were more likely to give blood than the people who were asked directly. When we open our hearts and feel loved, we become more generous. And when we're afraid, we withdraw. We become protective, fearful of the other. Chizku v'imtzu v'al tiru. Be courageous, strong, courageous, don't be afraid. To be strong is not necessarily good. In the Torah, the same verb is used for Pharaoh. Chazek et lev Pharaoh. God hardened his heart. The same word, we translate it as hardened, but it's chazek. He made it strong. You see, there's strength, which is being tough. And there's strength that's linked to courage, which is the ability to go inward in order to know that there is, in fact, danger, but to have the patience to evaluate the danger. See, that was the problem with Pharaoh. His heart was hardened. He was no longer assessing the demands, the commands, the needs. It is all too easy to become hard of heart, strong of heart. Chizku v'imtzu v'al tiru. Be strong, courageous, know that there are dangers, but don't be afraid, because you are with and of those who love. I am preoccupied, as you may have noticed, as I continue to prepare my high holiday sermons for Yom Kippur in every moment. I will be speaking on Yom Kippur about Lithuania and Poland and our trip this summer, but that's the springboard for asking the question, 75 years later, this coming year, 5780, 75 years since the end of the Holocaust, what's to be learned? What are we to teach our grandchildren, our children, that's worthy of holding on to? The main thing is we are Jews not because of the Holocaust, but despite the Holocaust. So I'm giving you the punchline. I have an older brother, Mark, not the swimmer, who I often turn to for guidance as he's my big brother. Unlike myself, distinctly unlike myself, my brother has studied the Holocaust as a part of many hobbies. He has a library, he has a room with books dedicated to the Holocaust. And I called him this week and I said, Mark, I'm working on this sermon. What do you think is the reason for the Holocaust? He said, it's very simple. It comes down to two things: fear and labeling. That's all it's about. He said, you know what I would do if I was you? He said, I would take a jar of fruit flies, because fruit flies are harmless, but people naturally recoil from them. That's the part of simplicity. He said, I would just take a jar filled with fruit flies, open it up, and see how people respond. He can be a little quirky. He said, because what I'd want to convey is that we're wired to be afraid. Fruit flies are harmless. He said, for that matter, spiders are overwhelmingly helpful, but people are afraid of spiders. There are some spiders, black widow spiders, that might be dangerous, but spiders are harmless, but we're wired to be afraid and to recoil from them, and not to make the distinction between good spiders and bad spiders, between fruit flies and things that are in fact dangerous. That's the first thing, is that we naturally simplify and respond with fear. We're wired to do so for our preservation. He said the second thing is, how did the Holocaust occur? How did 1.5 million children, how were they slaughtered? Because they were not children. They were Jewish children. That's, he said, the whole reason. Because once they were Jewish children, not just children, not human beings, well, then you had no need to invest concern. They were a danger. How were they a danger? Because there were some Jews who were a fifth column. You see, there was no longer a distinction. Jews were those subhumans, and you could just dismiss and more, be afraid of them. And he said that's natural. We do that. It's that simple. Chizku ve'amtzu ve'al tiru. Be strong, be courageous, and don't be afraid. We are all susceptible in our own lives to labeling and dismissing and oversimplifying, and horrible things happen. It goes on a lot. Jews are still labeled by virtue of, he's really, this is coming up to the week of the massacre in Pittsburgh later this month. What was the problem? It was a highest weekend. For synagogues around the country, Jews were celebrating their support for an organization that helped refugees, and who, according to the man who committed that horrific sickness-infested murder was those who were funded by Soros. And the caravans that were coming in, that was because of Soros's money equals the Jews. Yeah. That's how hatred works. It's simple. Simplification, allowing to fear, and labeling. Let us be aware. Because one of the main lessons of the Holocaust is it's not just about Jews. It's about what it means to be a human being for good, those humans who risked their lives to save Jews, and a human being for bad, those who allowed themselves to be silent. Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, we don't need fruit flies to remember that we can be irrational in our fears. Chizku v'amtzu v'al tiru. Let us be strong, but strength is neutral. It can be even bad. It can be a hard heart. V'amtzu, and let us be courageous. Courageous means to be able to move forward despite the awareness of the details, the realities. The realities, there are realities. There are facts. Damn it, there are facts. And it's our responsibility to look at those facts with a brave heart and not to be afraid, because we are loved by each other, by our families, and by God. I close with words of Rabbi Harold Kushner. I shared that he wrote a book called Conquering Fear. This was a book that he was asked to write by his agent after September 11th. The agent came to him and said, so many people are not sleeping, are worried, scared of terrorists. We need a book to allow people to conquer their fear. The book begins with a quote from Mark Twain. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of fear. And Rabbi Harold Kushner in this lovely book, as I noted, says that the most repeated command of Torah is al tirah, do not be afraid. Know that I am with you. I am the parent who will not solve all your problems. There are indeed things to be afraid of in life, but know that my love is enduring, and when you think of me, you will know that you can overcome your failures. When you feel my love, you can look forward and see the humanity in each person, because they too are my children. And so Rabbi Harold Kushner writes the following prayer in our Siddur, a prayer for the world with which I conclude. Let the rain come and wash away the ancient grudges, the bitter hatreds held and nurtured over generations. Let the rain wash away the memory of the hurt, the neglect. Then let the sun come out and fill the skies with rainbows. Let the warmth of the sun heal us wherever we are broken. Let it burn away the fog so that we can see each other clearly. Let the warmth and brightness of the sun melt our selfishness so that we can share the joys and feel the sorrows of our neighbors. And let the light of the sun be so strong that we will see all people as our neighbors. Let the earth, nourished by rain, bring forth flowers to surround us with beauty. And let the mountains teach our hearts to reach upward to heaven. Amen.